So hi, welcome to another episode of Insights here on the NetSupport stand at the Bett show. I am delighted to welcome long-suffering friend Ross McGill, also known as TeacherToolkit, onto the conversation. Now, with a vlog called Insights, you know, we could be here for a few weeks with Ross, right? Is where do we start? Where do we unpick it? Ross has just given me a bit of a pedagogical quiz.
Yeah,
I should actually
you get your own back now. Yeah.
I should maybe grab his own quiz and give him the questions back. But no, please do check out Ross's socials at TeacherToolkit, and you can find out more about that there. However,
yes.
Insights, something that you talk an awful lot about, and obviously really important, is workload.
Yes.
Right. So, in a TeacherToolkit and top tips kind of a world, could you give me perhaps sort of 3 tips? And since we're at an EdTech show. Any EdTech tools to help?
I'm going to default to my mark plan teach. So, top tip for marking is I've got 9 different ways of marking rather than just always it written in a book. So I'm doing a bit of work at the moment on verbal and non-verbal assessments. So thumbs up, thumbs down, how to evidence them for pupil outcomes. But keeping it simple for now, because the vast majority of teachers still mark pupils' books. A lovely idea that I spotted from a school in Nottinghamshire is the yellow box methodology, which is essentially zonal feedback. So rather than marking everything as and when required, zone in on one misconception or a spelling mistake and ask the student to redraft it there and then. And it's something you might want to do as and when required, rather than, like all teaching ideas, they mutate into something ugly. If I say mark once a week, then that great teaching idea is belittled and becomes a bit redundant. So that'd be my top tip for marking. Planning, I have to get the 5-minute lesson plan. Although the dialogue and lesson plans change over the last decade, all teachers still have to arrive to a lesson with a plan. So that might be on their master spreadsheet or a giant PowerPoint slide, but they still need to know what they're going to do. And we want to move away from teachers just repeating curriculum content regurgitated to what Ofsted call intent. So that's what I've always called the why, or stickability, on the 5-minute lesson plan for years. So the 5-minute lesson plan is a great tool, particularly for new teachers, to reduce that workload. Teaching, I guess the critical thing is to be clear and precise, because it's so easy for us to waffle or ask a question and then the kid gets distracted and then you end up going round and round in circles. So a top tip that I like to follow is an acronym called MINT. So think of a polar mint. M stands for materials, I stands for in or out of seats, N for noise level, and T for time. So if I'm in the class, I'll say to kids for materials, right kids, you need a piece of A3 paper and a pencil. You're going to be out of your seats, quiet conversations, 4 minutes, off you go. And then I follow the kids and manage that in the moment. So it's a nice way to ensure that your instruction's short. An EdTech tip, well, I guess in the era of AI, I think I said to you on Twitter a while ago, it's so easy to be consumed by everyone's latest gadget and AI equivalent. Probably follow a product that you already use and know, and then maybe look at their AI additional features rather than trying something new, because AI is new to us all. It's uncharted territory, and it's easy to get ripped off, I suppose. Very little at this stage, where we're only about a year in or so, is not many people will have robust evidence to say that this particular tool reduces teacher workload or improves pupil outcomes. So EdTech with AI, choose very carefully.
There's some great advice there, and you know, I'd echo that as well, right? It's very easy to be sort of get carried away with, particularly with stuff that's new and exciting.
Yeah, totally.
Right,
yeah.
to sort of try and chase. It's a bit like being I don't know if you've got a
sweet
cat.
shop. The amount of stuff I've tuned into for AI and then I'm not using it a week later.
Yeah,
but there are ones that I'm using all the time now. Particularly ChatGPT. But there's other little bolt-ons that you can get, all your bits of software.
Little extensions.
Yeah.
Things. Yeah.
It's easy to get overwhelmed.
There's so much going on with it. Well, look, it would be remiss of me to not try and drag a bit more. I mean, just from the first 5 minutes, we got some great tips from this man. So it's like a teach me on speed here with Ross. Let's have a little think about, we're talking about sort of workload and stuff. Teacher wellbeing is a big issue. I've seen you doing some stuff with a few platforms around that sort of thing as well, Ross. Any tips around how we can improve teacher wellbeing?
Well, there's a great company, I don't think they've got a stand here at the Bett show, but Wellbeing is an organisation by Mark Solomons. Now, what I loved learning from Mark was, when I used to do wellbeing surveys in my own school, if you change your school policies, which school leaders do annually, biannually, often you're not tracking teacher or school staff perceptions on small changes to policy other than word of mouth. But if you have the same questions on your survey, when you are making those changes and the survey goes out regardless of the mood or the time of year, you can generally track the differences in teacher well-being based on the strategy that the school leaders implement or impose. So that would be my top tip for well-being. I guess the other thing is, 10 years ago you could struggle to find, there was hardly anything academically on teacher well-being, but now it's in abundance, and the research is clear. You get your happy teachers, you're going to get happy kids, and that's how you get happy outcomes. So, it's not to say it's without its challenges being a head and running a school, but there are great head teachers out doing marvellous things with their staff, facing the same pressures as everyone else. So the question therefore is, why do some school leaders choose maybe not to treat the staff very kindly? Because let's face it, we've got a retention and recruitment crisis, and it's getting worse. And I think the schools that maybe make things a bit more trickier for the staff are isolating themselves and making it harder. And the world's smaller with social media, so people talk, and there's a lot more good, bad, and ugly stories being shared. To where when you and I were on the front line. So it's top tip for teachers watching is do your due diligence, check and search online, YouTube pages and everything else, and just make sure you're in the right school. There's 32,000 schools in the UK, so choose one that you love. Yeah,
good advice again. I'm going to dive into one more final area with you, Ross, right? So a large part of my work and something we're really passionate about here at NetSupport is digital strategy. Right? Getting your digital strategy right is super important.
It is.
Because, like teachers and the cost of, if we look at the sort of the balance sheet of any school, after the cost of
staff,
HR
IT,
staff is IT. Yeah. So getting your IT right, getting it right,
yes,
dad pun in there, it is super important. Have you got any tips around how to make digital
so
work?
I used to lead
school?
ICT in my school as a leader, and beyond what staff see just as a computer on their screen, or can I log in easily, all those little nice single sign-on features that make teachers' experiences easier as well as the kids. You need a strategy on paper, you need a Gantt chart with a timeline, you need a budget, and it can't just be one person. And it's often a school leader with an IT team, and that's pretty much it. But you need, just like any teaching and learning champions, you need IT champions in your school, and you need to have a regular revisit to the strategy, the risks associated, the cost, changing technologies, all that procurement, the budgets, all those kind of licenses that come and go, and how they filter down into the classroom, and then that litmus test with your staff and kids, so it feeds back into the strategy. Because I think my last year as a deputy head, we were probably spending about easily 150k a year on IT infrastructure and technology. So it's easy to get overwhelmed, and then you can find your kit stuck in a cupboard, redundant or not working quite easily. So have a strategy on paper. So follow, I guess, like an Ofsted action plan. You'd have the same equivalent for an IT plan, your Gantt chart with your timelines, your budgets, and make sure it's transparent and all staff are involved would be probably the most important part.
Yeah, stakeholder involvement is so key.
Don't keep it to yourself.
No, that's it. We'll work with your colleagues to actually get them to draw out what actually works. Often they will know of a new tool that might be actually good, not just in science, but in...
And it's also easy to just get so overwhelmed with, just coming to the Bett show, it's so overwhelming with everyone doing pretty much the same things. It's just a different logo or a different colour, and there might be a particularly different feature. So do your shopping and choose carefully to meet the needs of your teachers, your school staff, your kids and your families. That'd be a top tip.
Brilliant stuff.
Easy to say, isn't it? But harder to put in practice.
No, it is. If you want more tips from this gentleman here, obviously you can follow him at all things TeacherToolkit. Same everywhere really, unless you want to follow Ross McGill. Please do check us out if you're at the Bett event at SD50, NetSupport stand. If not, follow us at netsupportsoftware.com, NetSupport Group on social media.
And don't forget to pick this man's brain. He's full of IT wisdom. He's been doing it for a long, long time.
It's very kind of you, Ross. Cheers. You can follow me at ICT Evangelist should you want to too. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Insights. Thanks.